Disney are the DEI department.
People want to go see diverse films.
No,
they
they
also want to
don't.
What
No,
do you
nie
even
chcą.
joke about? They're just checking
Debilu,
boxes when
kurwa.
they're literally checking boxes.
And they've stopped thinking about storytelling because they actually look down on the audience.
The woke brigade that's within their building.
To
They've
może
got
być
nowhere
bardzo
to go at
ciekawe.
this point.
They're just there for identity politics.
The House of Mouse is falling down. Disney's last 4 big releases have bombed at the box office. The company is currently no longer Hollywood's #1 film studio. Recent box office takings show even Marvel has lost its, well, Marvel. And critics say the reason is simple. Disney's prioritized identity politics over entertainment, pushing messages audiences don't want or need to hear. So have they got a point? Well, to discuss all that and more, 2 titans of YouTube are returning to Uncensored by popular demand, Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic. I mean, otherwise known as Will and Gary, but I prefer your stage names, guys. We're going to stick to those. Also here to debate is Uncensored contributor Esther Krakow and the author for The Case for Cancel Culture, Ernest Owens,
Case of the Cancel
which is one of the
Culture.
worst named titles of a book, Ernest, I can ever envisage, but we'll let
Też
that
się tak
pass.
uważam.
All right, let's start with Disney, because there's a huge civil
No to
war
może być
raging
ciekawe.
with Disney, with board members,
to jest?
investors,
8
all trying to work out what is going wrong with the recent series of flops, because Disney is not used to having flops. Nelson Peltz, who's a serious investor in Disney, has criticized Disney's woke strategy in an interview with the Financial Times. He said, "Why do I have to have a Marvel movie that's all women? Not that I have anything against women, but why do I have to do that? Why do I need an all-black cast?" What do you think of this? I mean, Critical Drinker, there's no doubt Disney's in a pretty poor run at the
Pretty
moment.
poor, kurwa,
How much
oni
of that is
umierają,
down
oni zdychają
to
i
woking up
nikt
the
ich
movie?
nie chce.
I mean, I think it's definitely a factor, but it's part of a much bigger picture that incorporates other issues like a general decline in storytelling quality, a prioritization of quantity over quality, and yeah, like delving too much into identity politics, which by their nature are divisive. Of course they are. And so all of those different factors working together have slowly undermined their creative output to the point where all of their major franchises are failing. Star Wars is kind of a disaster at the moment.
No, kurwa.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe that used to be this money printing behemoth is churned out flop after flop in recent years, and even their own their own unique animation movies like Wish,
Haunted Mansion flop. Pixar flops all over the place.
Yes, exactly. All of those different aspects of their creative output have flopped, and they've got nowhere to go at this point. Clearly, something has to change. What they're doing is not working anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Nerdrotic, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, a comic book tale featuring a strong female lead. The Marvels, a comic book movie featuring a diverse cast of strong female leads. Elemental, Disney's first animation featuring their first strong non-binary lead. All flops. Maybe a coincidence, maybe not.
Nie, no
People
nie
who are
jest, kurwa.
intent on attacking Disney.
To nie jest coincidence, to jest po prostu brak umiejętności w tym momencie pisarskich i no wygląda to jak wygląda, no.
They're pursuing a strategy that's not based on
Jeśli się zatrudnia osoby ze względu na to, jaki mają kolor skóry, jaką mają agendę, jaką mają płeć, jaką myślą, że mają płeć, jaką sobie ubzdurowują, że mają płeć i tylko i wyłącznie to jest ważne dla tych filmów, dla tych firm, no to kurwa, no to dostajemy takie kurwa kwiatki, jak She-Hulk i inne kurwa badziewia na zasadzie tej, nie wiem, Rings of Power.
They're pursuing a strategy trying to appease the woke brigade, who will come hunting for them if they deviate from the woke worldview.
Przykre jest czasami, jak się patrzy na tych aktorów, no bo oni biorą te role tylko i wyłącznie dlatego, żeby zarobić na chleb i muszą później pierdolić te głupoty, że tutaj to i tak dalej. Force is female, no takie pierdoły.
The woke brigade that's within their building, right? So, you know, we see all these third-party companies in gaming that's going off right now. But like Disney is that third-party company. They are the DEI department. Lucasfilm is the DEI department, and now Marvel is too. And it was really easy for comic book fans to figure this out because we read the comic books. She-Hulk, for example, was a great comic book. It was reverent. It had It broke the
Wiecie,
fourth
kto
wall.
powinien być She-Hulk? Ja wam pokażę, kto powinien grać She-Hulk. Angie Harmon. Ona by się tak nadawała na She-Hulk. No ja nie mogę. Ona byłaby idealną She-Hulk. Ona nawet mówiła dawno temu, że chciałaby być She-Hulk. O.
You are interested in playing if they ever make a movie about She-Hulk.
Oh.
Now
oh.
I.
Oh.
No ej, no.
What's happening?
Mielibyśmy taką She-Hulk. Nikt by nie narzekał. Ona byłaby idealną She-Hulk. No.
I've got my move for next time. She-Hulk. What's going on down there?
Ale nie, mamy jakąś babkę, która
But
totalnie
you're
nie
interested in playing
wygląda i nie
She-Hulk.
powinna.
Now She-Hulk is the cousin of the Hulk.
She's yeah.
We have
she's
I think we
Bruce's
have
cousin.
a picture of She-Hulk. There
Look
she
at
is.
her.
Yes.
Look at her.
Yes.
She is so slamming. I
Yeah.
can't. Oh my God, she's incredible. She's amazing. I can't.
So you
So-
want to play She-Hulk?
Yes. It just, it just started very
No ona
innocently
powinna
on,
grać
Twitter
She-Hulk.
and,
To byłaby
it
idealna
just,
fucking
and then it
She-Hulk, no.
sort of went
Nikt by nie
viral. And then
narzekał.
at our TNT
Piękna
luncheon,
kobieta,
where they do that to,
wysportowana,
like,
no
Muslim reporters,
idealnie
and
pasująca
they
do
give us
She-Hulk,
alcohol.
no.
Not good.
So that's when you started saying, "I want to play She-Hulk,"
Well, we were
and it
just
got out
talking
there.
about it, and I got really excited and fired up about it. And, I probably shouldn't have had that second glass of champagne before I started talking about her. And it got to just be a whole thing about 36 C's and how awesome she is and her giant libido.
Does She-Hulk have I don't know. I have to say I don't know much about
I can't.
She-Hulk.
I
No,
can't.
well, you
Come
brought it up,
on.
and we're talking about it now. She-Hulk has large breasts, and she has a healthy libido. Is that right?
Well, no, yes. Yeah. No, but the thing, but think about
What do
it.
you
like,
mean by that?
I'm not promoting, slutism. I'm not saying be a slut. Okay, I have 3 daughters. I would never say be a slut.
Classy. Slutism.
Slutism, yes, the study of
This
sluts.
is so not going well.
You're saying she's a little. You're saying that she
But
likes
okay,
to-
look, okay, just go with me for a second. Okay, so if you were to be a superhero that was a woman, this one just happens, to have slept with her, like Captain America and Iron Man and Superman and blah. And
She
come
slept
on.
with all these guys?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Is this in the comic books? Picturing 11-year-old Tommy like, she really gets around.
Wow. So not going well.
Good God.
There's just something very,
I want to see this. I want to see you play this She-Hulk. And I think I know a good Captain America right now. Oh, man. I can't wait for the next Turner event. We're real tight on time, but we have a clip here from Rizzoli Niles that we wanted to get to. Anything we need to know for this?
No.
I don't believe you're She-Hulk in this clip. Let's take a look.
Okay. Oh my God, you're sure? Lydia, Dad's fiance, Lydia?
Yeah, I saw her name on the parking notices. Lydia Sparks.
And you're sure she's pregnant?
She's out to here.
What do we do?
How the
Każdy
hell
ten
should
jest
I
serial
know?
Well, should we call Pop?
She says he dumped her.
Do we just not know him, or is he having some deranged late midlife crisis?
Janie, she's living out of her car. What if that's
Our brother or sister? Oh my God.
All right. Rizzoli Niles airs Tuesdays at 9 on TNT. She-Hulk is coming out in 1 year. I am the executive producer. I'm also the director.
And the Captain America.
Okay.
No ona by była tak idealnym She-Hulk, no piękna kobieta z pięknym uśmiechem, fantastyczne ciało, dziewczyna rzeczywiście spędza chyba mnóstwo czasu na tym, na siłowni, jest zabawna, no fajna kobieta, no i mamy She-Hulk.
No i stało się. Marvel w końcu
No i stało
przesadził
się,
i
dokładnie.
wypuścił takie gówno, które pozostawia po sobie pytanie, czy mamy już dość MCU? Jak gustu i cierpliwości myśli.
No ale...
that the famous
Dobra,
one,
nie się
the
wydarzy.
famous run is by John Byrne, and I love the comic book. She-Hulk was a member of the Fantastic Four. This is one of my favorite female Marvel characters, and they destroyed her because they don't know what they're doing. I did a clip in one of my videos of all of the writers for most of the Disney Plus, stating that they didn't know anything about the comics and they didn't read the comics. And that's part of the reason, because they're just there for identity politics. It's simple. We used to joke about they're just checking boxes when they're literally checking boxes now.
Right.
Which kills creativity.
Ernest, you'd be sitting there grimacing. I mean, it's clearly demonstrably not working, this strategy. And I've just looking from the outside, look at it and think, yeah, they have been too concerned about identity politics, too concerned about appeasing their very woke workforce. And they should have just stuck to doing what Disney does best, make great family films and make a ton of cash.
So there's a lot of misinformation, and I think the issue is that no one here is actually really reading the real strategy. The problem is several things. There's a missing implication. There has been arguably films that were super successful. Black Panther had a predominantly black cast, not all black cast, and made $1.3 billion at the box office. And
Bo to był dobry film.
the
Nic
reality
więcej.
is
Dobry
that when you
film.
start saying woke or DEI,
Film był całkiem dobry, okej, a przede wszystkim był wierny temu, co było napisane w komiksie. Każdy ma gdzieś, czy ktoś jest biały, czarny, ważne, żeby odpowiadał temu, co było napisane w komiksie, bo to znamy. Jeśli, nie wiem, Gandalf by był czarnoskóry, albo Gandalf by był, nie wiem, Chińczykiem, no to lekko by nas wkurwiało. Jeśli coś nas wkurwia, to nas się nie podoba i nie chodzimy tego oglądać.
there's another implication there where you're implying.
Tak, film o Marcinie Lutherze Kingu też pewnie byłby sukcesem, no bo kurwa, to jest logiczne.
Ways that what is the opposite of lack
Już kurwa, już widzę to.
Feeding to an all-white cast or majority white cast and a lack of diversity. I don't think that's what Disney should do, and I don't think that's what Hollywood should do, because it
Ale
doesn't
jesteś
reflect
kurwa idiotą, już kurwa więcej.
However, what's missing in this conversation is that the reason why a lot of these films are not doing as well is because many of them are spin-offs, sequels, or there's just overall
Nie, they shitty fucking movies, you fucking idiot.
fatigue in the market where people want original stories. So I do think that rather than try to make this a culture war, which really it isn't, it's more of a change in taste from the audiences and what they want. Let's keep it 100. Pixar has not really made too many original films that have really been able to be fully marketed. And there's been an oversaturation of them. There's an oversaturation of Marvel. But if you look at other films elsewhere, there has seemed to be a trend of liking diversity, TV shows, streaming platforms. And so it seems to be a little bit intellectually dishonest to frame it in this way. I think there's another way to look at it.
I'll come to Esther at once. I mean, I would just say, my favorite movie the last few years was Top Gun Maverick. Because it just did what it said on the tin, right? The guys behave like guys, the women behave like women, bad guys got slotted, and the good guys were heroes. I mean, that used to be how movies got made in Hollywood. They celebrated the basics in life. Now they're too busy worrying about what the basics in life actually are. Esther, what about
Nawet ja bym nie powiedział tak do końca, tylko bym powiedział, że w tym momencie agenda przerasta to, co powinno być w filmie, czyli entertainment, czyli radość z filmu, możliwość ukazania przez twórców fajnych wartości, dobrych wartości. Przepraszam. No muszę się wychillować, bo ja dłużej będę oglądał.
Is there a problem, people? We were just discussing ideas of what to do with the new Prince Eric movie. Put a chick in it, make her gay!
Maybe we should go a different route than we did with Indiana Jones.
Fuck Indiana Jones, put a chick in it and make her gay!
Sure. Well, let's try that. Again. Kathleen Kennedy is down on set right now ruining the new Bambi movie.
Put a diverse woman in it, make it gay!
Bambi's a baby deer.
Baby deer, put a chick in it, make her gay!
Now, the thing about South Park, as Meghan and Harry can tell you, is that through their comedy, they often absolutely nail the truth. Esther, your thoughts?
Well, I think the argument that they've not been making enough independent films and that's why they've been flopping. Well, the independent films that they have made have also flopped because they've not been focusing on storytelling. They're always thinking, how can I have a transgender Muslim
Dokładnie.
black woman in there?
Tak,
And they've
dokładnie.
stopped thinking
Ten jak kurwa patrzy, widzicie tego kolesia po prawej? Nie, kurwa, puk mu się w głowę, kurwa, debil.
I also think there's another dynamic here, which is actually the media. So the media works against them. So if you actually just wanted to tell a story and the entire
Tak,
cast
dokładnie o
of
to
that
chodzi.
film was
Tylko i
Even
wyłącznie
before you
chcemy
watched
dobrej
all the
historii.
promo,
A
it
ty...
would just be saturated by these
I ona ma
sort of
rację,
fake news
absolutnie.
articles.
I czy ja jestem w tym momencie, nie wiem, zrażony do kogoś, bo w tym momencie absolutnie popieram to, co ciemnoskóra, czarnoskóra i jeszcze kobieta mówi. Absolutnie się z tym zgadzam. Ten koleś po prawej stronie, no, z przypinką, nie Pierce, no on pierdoli głupoty.
Saying, oh, it's sexist, it's homophobic, it's transgender. So even before the film comes out, you have media working against you. So in
Tak,
that way,
dokładnie.
the media...
Nie chcemy oglądać czegoś, co nie współgra z naszymi przyzwyczajeniami, moralnością, etyką i jakby z naszą wizją świata i tego, co widzimy. Jeśli ktoś jest odklejony od rzeczywistości i chce na siłę nam wciskać coś, co nie istnieje albo nie jest nam bliskie, no to nie będziemy chodzili na takie filmy. Plus, kurwa, twórcy traktują nas jak typowych debili. Albo nie, ludzkość się staje bardziej debilna i zidiociała i dlatego twórcy również i przez to dostajemy coś takiego. Jeśli masz powyżej chyba 110 inteligencji, no to nie powinieneś scringe'ują niż w jakikolwiek sposób zadowolą. A ten koleś będzie jeszcze pierdolił. Przepraszam.
Before anyone bothers to watch the film. And I think that's the issue. They've stopped respecting the audience and they feel the need to preach to them.
Tak, dokładnie, no przestali szanować publikę i swoich odbiorców.
It's a fantastic company that used to make fantastic movies and hardly ever...
Nie wiem jaki ostatni dobry film puścił Disney. Nie mam zielonego pojęcia. Nie wiem co oglądałem ostatnio, ale wszystko co oglądałem było totalnym kurwa ścierwem.
A flop. Because they knew their audience so well and they didn't attack their audience.
Sorry, a lot of those movies were not sequels. A lot of those movies were not.
But going back to Black Panther, did Black Panther succeed because there were black people in it? No,
it was a great story.
It was a
great story, dokładnie, kurwa mać. Nie, kurwa.
I was 6 and 7 years old.
And the thing is, they tried to replicate the same exact formula for Black Panther with the second one, and it made half as much.
Dokładnie, no to co ja mówiłem na samym początku, no.
Clearly,
half as
were
much.
Yeah,
I want to be clear.
And no one talks about it more.
In his statement, I want to be clear that Peltz did say in that interview that basically argued that the Marvels and Black Panther, he didn't even want to get Black Panther made. And in Iger's book that he came out in 2019, he referenced that they had to fight to get Black Panther to come out.
That was Ike Perlmutter, not Nelson Peltz.
Why? You're right.
Why? Who's backing Nelson Peltz? Why?
Right. Why?
They didn't think it would sell action figures, and he was obviously wrong on that one. And he didn't want Captain Marvel made either. But there's a lot of fishiness around Captain Marvel. And then when the sequel came out, which was the most predictable flop of all time, it flopped. It was their biggest flop. They didn't put any effort in it because they didn't put any. You watched Captain Marvel and read the books that she was based on. She was Carol Danvers. She was Miss Marvel. She was a likable character. They turned her into a dude. And Kevin Feige is the one who put out the edict. He said, we're going to make half of our characters women. That's what.
Ale dlaczego? No i w tym momencie znowu dochodzimy do BlackRocka i tego, co powiedział CEO BlackRocka, że będą robili więcej kobiecych postaci ze względu na to, że jest więcej kobiet na świecie. I oni sobie mogą do tego dopuścić, mogą to robić 10-15 lat, bo to będzie w końcu ich rynek zbytu. I tyle. To nie chodzi kurwa o agenty, znowu chodzi tylko o hajs.
The MCU comes from. I didn't create it. Nobody created it. Kevin Feige created it. He's the one who said, I'm going to put down this edict and I'm going to start checking boxes. And that's exactly when they started failing, right after Captain Marvel. It's been all downhill.
A ja uważam, że dużo wcześniej, że już się to zaczęło dużo wcześniej, a Captain Marvel był taką kurwa wisienką na torcie tego całego upadku Disneya i tego takiego przekręcenia na to woke Hollywood, naprawdę, to wtedy to okno Overtona jakby pierdolnęło na szerz, ale wcześniej to już było robione, no kurwa, no nie oszukujmy się. Nam wciskali taką totalną gównopapkę od dawna, próbowali wciskać. A przede wszystkim to nawet te filmy, one są złe, ja jestem kurwa wielkim fanem Gwiezdnych Wojen, mam tatuaż Dartha Vadera, Obi-Wana nie mogłem obejrzeć, obejrzałem 2 odcinki i mnie to tak zniesmaczyło. No kurwa mać, no gdzie wasze kurwa mózgi?
very few of their
Nie wiem, oni
movies
chyba za
have
dużo
made money
naprawdę
that
ćpają
the
w tych
budgets have
Stanach, bo to
blown
jest
up
wielki problem.
beyond we don't even know. We just learned that Doctor Strange cost around $300 million.
O, i
without
Doktor
marketing.
Strange.
By the way,
Uwielbiam postać tej Scarlet Witch. No kurwa, uwielbiam. Ta aktorka, która ją gra, też jest mega spoko. Fajna dziewczyna, idealna, no ale z niej zrobili no taką bardzo kiepską postać. Ta postać nie miała żadnej głębi ponad to, że jest wkurwiona. I to powinien być antagonista, a nie protagonista. Ogólnie, no i to CGI, ale to wpierdalanie wszędzie, kurwa, zmienianie koloru skóry albo przynależności do jakiejś społeczności, tylko i wyłącznie po to, żeby wzbudzić kontrowersję albo dostać hajs od BlackRocka czy Vanguarda, no to jest wielki problem. To jest, kurwa, wielki problem.
Wait,
And
that's
the
the
thing
same
is,
thing that they did to
there's-
Barbie. Can I just point that out? I mean, I know comic books are not as
And
popular
Barbie
as
was a
Barbie,
super
but I'm a
success.
huge Barbie fan. And the people who made Barbie didn't bother to
Yeah,
watch
'cause
one
it was for
47 animated Barbie films. If you actually are a fan of
And
Barbie,
Barbie
the
was a
Barbie film that was
blockbuster
produced
success.
last year and made all that money, it was a complete abomination because they didn't even bother to actually do any research.
it
This
was
is the
a
thing.
box office
They have
success. It
activists
wasn't a
instead of
flop.
filmmakers. That's the problem.
It was
And no
not-
one wants to
you know,
watch something that's preachy and boring.
Candace Owens Jr., listen, it's not a flop.
It's a flop.
Barbie did the thing.
It's
Barbie
Did the
Barbie
thing.
was an
And so all
abomination.
this
Did the
argument
money.
about woke and this, at the end of the day, it was a fresh, original concept. People want to go
To
see
zróbcie-
diverse films.
Nieprawda!
No, they don't.
Nieprawda!
No,
Kurwa
they
mać,
don't.
nieprawda!
People
What are
want
you
to
talking about,
see
Barbie
good
here?
films.
It's
They don't
ludicrous.
care about
And
diversity.
Barbie
They
had
don't
nothing
care
to do
about
with
political
it.
Don't all
messaging.
talk over
They
each
just
other.
want
But let me
to
just be
see
clear.
Ludzie mają
Let me
to
be
w
clear.
dupie,
Barbie
kurwa
was
debilu.
not a film about diversity. It was a film bashing men, attacking the patriarchy, and saying that all the good things in the world are female. And the only funny thing about it was at the Oscars, it was all about Ryan Gosling. Ken had the last laugh as Margot Robbie
That was the
sat in the
irony. It's
seats,
called satire.
unwanted
It proved the
and
point.
unattended. And I love Margot
And
Robbie, but let's
audience
not,
loved
let's
it.
not pretend what Barbie was. It was a box office smash, and as Esther said, an abomination, a man-bashing abomination. Talking of abominations, let's come to Joker 2, a musical. It's been announced that the sequel to Joker is going to be a jukebox musical co-starring Lady Gaga with up to 15 lip-synced cover songs. My heart sank when I heard this.
To nie zmienia faktu, że moim zdaniem Lady Gaga może być zajebistą Harley Quinn. Bo nie, no, może być zajebistą Harley Quinn. W tym make-upie?
Okay.
Ona też nie
What
jest
does your
brzydka.
heart do?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I mean, ultimately, it's all going to come down to the implementation. Potentially, there's a
Right.
way you could make this work. When I first heard that this is the route they were going to turn it into a musical, wasn't a fan. But I loved the first Joker movie. Told a great story. It wasn't
Dokładnie.
mired in the comic book superhero movie genre. It was a story about a man gradually
tak,
losing
dokładnie.
his way in society and a world that just
Dokładnie.
didn't care about him. Fine, that sort of thing works perfectly, and it was great. Not sure I love this idea of turning it into a musical. I
Też nie,
got a little bit
ale
of confidence in
nie
Todd
wiem,
Phillips
no.
as a director. He
Nie wiem.
clearly knows what he's doing with this, but whether or not they can make this work, it is debatable. I think
Esther, you
we're
think
going to have to wait and
all
see.
musicals are diabolical?
I despise musicals. I mean,
Ja
to be
też
fair,
nie
Baz
lubię
Luhrmann has a
musicalów.
hand in why I really hate musicals. But I also
Why?
think I don't really like his cinematic style, and what he did with Moulin Rouge I can't stand it. And it's not a genre I can take seriously. I think it works in theater, but it's
La
just
La
annoying.
Land was great. I
No,
watched
it
it with
was
my daughter
awful.
the
La
other
La
night.
Land was
No, it was great.
horrible. It was
I love La La
unacceptable.
Land.
It was horrible. But I just I don't understand
Singing in the Rain. I mean,
the Joker
God, I mean,
character
really?
in music.
All
Singing
musicals
in-
are terrible.
I think they're all
Singing in the
terrible.
Rain?
They're all awful. I can't stand them.
Chicago.
Nerdrotic,
No,
come in here. I'll come to you, Ernest. Nerdrotic. All musicals are awful. Discuss.
Most of them are.
Yeah.
There's a couple. I like, but most of them are
Gris
pretty
ja
horrible.
lubię. O, Gris jest
It's not my
zajebisty.
taste.
Her,
But with
zajebisty.
Joker, I
Ja
didn't
tego nie
think the
widzę.
first movie should exist, and then it became kind of a cultural event. I'm sure you remember the press around that. That was supposed to be some movie for incels, and I had to walk through a metal detector to go in New York to go watch the movie in America because of all the press that was around it, that was going to incite violence and all that crap. And the violence happened at Frozen 2 and not Joker. Thought the movie was great. I didn't think it needed to exist because ultimately the Joker doesn't need an origin. But I really don't think this sequel should exist. I love Todd Phillips as a filmmaker. Not a big fan of Lady Gaga. So yeah, I'm skeptical on this.
Okay, Ernest.
Ale świetna muzyka.
Musicals are touch and go, but I think people like something that is original and fresh.
Nieprawda.
We haven't seen it, but I wouldn't count Gaga out. And I wouldn't count Todd Phillips out. I think that the cast is going to really drive it. It already has a great interest in the public. I'm open, and again, I'm not crazy about a lot of.
Do you know my theory about musicals, Ernest, is that it's a bit like music. It's like an album, right? When you listen to an album for the first time, it's very rare that I listen to an album once and think, "Oh, that was fantastic." They grow on me, right? You listen to the same song a few times, and suddenly you're into it. And I felt the same about La La Land. First time I watched it, I didn't like it. I didn't get it. Second time I liked it a bit more. And the other night I watched it with my daughter, absolutely loved it because I knew all the songs. You know, it's a bit like when you go to a concert. If they play their greatest hits at a concert, I'm a happy boy.
And it's also an original musical, which is my point. Like, you didn't see it on Broadway. It was made for the film. And so when you have, again, something that's different, people will watch it. Because
Nieprawda.
You know, The Color Purple didn't do well, right? Because a lot of people was comparing it to Broadway, to the other movie. And so you have to compare it with. Not everything can be Chicago, which I think is one of the best adapted musical to films ever, in my opinion.
Okay, let's turn to Sydney Sweeney, this cultural phenomenon, being called a double D antidote to woke.
O kurwa, no i zajebiście. Double D antidote.
Canada's National Post posed the question, are Sydney Sweeney's breasts double D harbingers of the death of woke? And they summarise the argument by saying we've spent years being chastised for desiring or admiring beauty because beauty is rare and exclusionary, and to exclude is to hate. Also, we've been scolded to accept by today's diversity, equity, and inclusion fanatics. We aren't supposed to admire Sweeney's beauty, but we've done it anyways. The times, they are a-changing. Critical drinker, are they changing? Has Sydney Sweeney's cleavage basically spelled the beginning of the end of woke?
I just love the idea that Sydney Sweeney's breasts have somehow become a political movement. I mean, that's the one aspect of politics.
O, jaki ten zniesmaczony. Ojejku, no.
From this point of view, I don't know, there's been so many attempts to redefine beauty standards and foist different ideas upon us, but ultimately the heart wants what the heart wants, I suppose. And when you see a young, attractive woman who's well endowed, shall we say, guys are gonna like it. We're relatively simple creatures, you know, and we're not all that difficult to please, and people are appreciating it. Sydney Sweeney herself seems to be very much aware of the attention that she's getting because of this, and she's happy to play into it, and as she should.
I don't think it's only. By the way, it's not only guys, is it, Esther?
I mean, I'm a tittyologist. I love boobs. I love nice boobs. I'm a bit jealous though because I feel like Sydney Sweeney and I are boob twins. But she gets all the double D attention. I don't. Maybe because I'm not dressing like I'm auditioning to be a witness. Anyway, but
if you haven't seen Esther's pole dancing on her Instagram, by the way, you haven't lived.
I think look, she's unapologetic.
She's a breakout pole dancing sensation waiting to happen.
Well, I don't know, for my parents' sake, but look, I love that Sydney Sweeney's leaning into her femininity, her beauty, maybe a bit too much.
Tak, dokładnie, to jest feministyczne. Dlaczego feministki mają być kurwa brzydkie? To jest na tej zasadzie jak z oglądaniem, no nie wiem, filmów na PH i oglądanie lesbijek. Jeśli byłyby nieatrakcyjne lesbijki, no to kurwa, no, nikt by nie dokończył. Taka jest prawda. Boże, jak ludzie zidiocieli.
A lot of boobs, but anyway, and men like boobs. It's not groundbreaking.
All right, Nerdrotic. I mean, I always think that the movie game in particular should have a premium on beauty. I don't want to see too many ugly people on screen.
Dokładnie.
No, that's the problem we've been having is we have a lot of ugly people on screen. I don't want to identify.
Current screen accepted, obviously.
Current screen.
We're not
silver
actors,
screen. I don't need to see myself reflected. I don't see some middle-aged, recovering alcoholic on the screen all the time. I don't. I want to see heroism. I want to see beauty. Yes. I want to see something to aspire to, something we normally don't see. Look what they did to Kelly Marie Tran in The Last Jedi. They completely uglified her, you know, and she's a pretty girl. And they've been doing, I mean, they put a piece of metal over Scarlett Johansson's boobs in Endgame. That should be a crime.
Yes.
You know, these are things
that should be a crime.
Need to be free.
I agree. Ernest, it should be a crime. I agree.
So misogyny aside, I think that trying to
Ojej,
You have some kind of
Mizogini i ona też mizoginka. Ja nie mogę.
I'm getting to
Tak
moving
mi
on.
przykro.
Try to make it like this thing against the woke. I think again, it's forcing a culture war that's just nonsense.
Nikt nie
But I
chce
will
tego
argue
zrobić.
that if they
Tego...
think that Sydney Sweeney is the antidote to wokeism, then I would say that Taylor Swift is the person that's countering all of that.
She has no boobs. Well, she got a boob job, but like, what are you talking about?
That's the point. That's the point. It doesn't matter. She is the antidote that type of narrative. She's successful. The right used to love her until she basically became to them woke, which is nonsense.
It's not her boobs.
And now she's out here getting billions of screens on Disney Plus.
It's not misogyny to like boobs, by the way. I like boobs.
And by the way, look, I think as Nerdrotic just pointed out, with Sydney Sweeney, it's not just about her cleavage. It's about the fact she's worked out what to say that is going to resonate with people in a way that is now leading this debate. And good on her.
Not her acting, not her
and her acting, and her beauty.
Oh, okay. I'm going to put her talent.
Dobra, no to w tym momencie mamy porównać tych aktorów, którzy, nie wiem, tą Galadrielę, czy jej gra aktorska była dobra?
Acting, talent, beauty, and an attitude that is resonating. And she's a breath of fresh air. Thank God for Sydney Sweeney, and thank God for Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, Esther, and even you, Ernest. Even you.
Even you.
Thank you all very much for a spirited debate. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers.
Change the title of your book, Ernest, for God's sake.